Hey guys, welcome to Discerning the Times Ministries. Throughout the Old Testament, the Israelite people, they were, for God, and then disobeyed Him, and then God had to correct them, and then, you know, a lot through enemies and wars and all that kind of thing. And one thing that stands out to me through the Old Testament is the phrase that the Lord says quite often. Then they will know that I am the Lord, or that the nations will know that I am God, or, in those pretexts. But now that the Lord doesn't change the way He is, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, back in those days, God made Himself known to the Israel nation a lot more than He is today, and I think there's a purpose for that. It's because our world has deteriorated spiritually, and I think God had to kind of. I mean, God's still around and He still does miracles and all that kind of stuff, but He's not putting up pillars of fire by night and pillars of cloud by day. You know what I'm saying? We're not seeing those types of things happening today in this day and age. But I think it's very I think it was meant to be like that because of our deterioration, because of evil and how evil had to progress, to get to the point where it is today. Right now, Israel is under a lot of pressure, and it is very, very serious. It's not a matter of fact, it's not just Israel, it's the world in general, especially the United States. The Western world has ruled for, a couple hundred years, and, they, especially America, they have made it known that they are the superpower for the longest period of time, and that's about to change. And Biden has done damage, and he's done serious damage, and I don't believe that any election or any other thing that pops up in America is going to save that nation, because it has gone too far, and it's about to go a lot farther. I believe that we're at a turning point here in the world that is going to change everybody's life significantly. Now, I'm just going to take it a little bit back. Before COVID happened, a lot of Christians, their spirit has been fired up, and a lot of watchers have been, being born, and they're looking for the Lord, including myself. I actually thought the Lord would come already because of the stuff that's been happening. But as you can see, He hasn't. But he's gonna. I'm not saying He's about to, but major things are going to happen. And because the Lord has been dormant in the fact of us seeing Him and seeing His wonders, like the Old Testament, I believe that's about to change. Because Israel is being surrounded by enemies. And, if I, for one, go watch Amir Sarfati's last breaking news, because he explains a lot about what's going on with Israel right now. And there's no better person right now who's going to explain exactly what's going to go on militarily than him. He knows his stuff. But what he's saying in that last breaking news is that there's many countries, including Hamas and stuff like that, and in the West Bank, and who are going after Israel and conspiring, together to wipe Israel off the face of the earth. Now, America's not there, okay? America's not, even if it was there, they don't have the power. Right now, America has given a lot of their weapons and a lot of their funding to Ukraine. And Ukraine's not even doing good. Even the missiles and the weapons and stuff that they've given them, they can't use because Russia has messed up the GPS systems over there. So they're not in good shape. And they have this lie, the portrayal of, this vision that they're this great power. They're just not. They're destroying the United States from within with all their different liberal views that have destroyed the morals of that country. There's no patriotism. Like, don't get me wrong, there is a lot of people who are very patriotic there, but compare it to the 1950s or the 60s or something, you know what I mean? It's just not like it was. And now we have a growing world, and all the third world countries that used to be third world countries are all now in the modern age world. They're all more wealthy. They all have, they're getting to be either democratic nations or, you know, or very strong communist nations, right? But they're in the new age world. It's not the same world that we used to live in, or even when my dad was around, or when my dad lived when he was a kid, you know, stuff like that. It's just not, right? So now I was thinking about this today, and I was praying to the Lord last night too, and praying for Israel and stuff. But we just have to remember, Israel isn't going anywhere, right? You know, they're just not. That, right? Like, for one, the 7-year tribulation has to happen. That's 7 years. Number two, 1,000-year millennium has to happen. That's 1,000 years, right? So Israel isn't going anywhere. We know that. But that doesn't mean that Israel can't be or have major destruction, okay? Now, what I see happening, and without getting too specific, because I don't know the specifics, but it's not looking good for Israel right now, okay? But we do know they're not going anywhere. So if it's looking so bleak for Israel, what will happen? I believe that Israel will be surrounded, you know, just like Ezekiel 38. And, well, not just like Ezekiel 38. You know, I believe we're on the brink of Ezekiel 38 right now, and I believe the Lord's power will be known. And I believe he will do this because the nations will know that he is God, right? And then shortly after that, if the nations know that the God of Israel is God, do you think he's going to stop there and go back to a dormant stage? No, I believe that's going to kick off so many different things. And I'm excited. You know, I pray for the Israel people who live there, and there's going to be some horrific things that are going to happen. And it's not just Israel, like I said, you know, your Taiwan and stuff, and China, and, you know, India, and Russia, and Ukraine, and then Iran, and you mix all these people together. It's just, it's looking to be the start of a World War III. But in Matthew 24, you know, all these signs happen, and then it says, for nation will rise against nation, and kingdom will rise against kingdom. And I've been saying this for the last couple of years. I believe that's where we're at. We're waiting for nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. I believe that America is banking on that, as a matter of fact. You know, maybe not on the biblical side, but Biden has done so much damage that, you know, that's the plan. Do so much damage that no matter what comes of it, the next president will not be able to fix it, right? And that's where we're at. There's no way. Who cares if another president comes in? What are they going to do? Tell China and Russia to not create their own currency? Or are you going to bring back all the Europe nations who now, like Paris, who just decided to not be with America when they're trying to defend Taiwan? He publicly said that they don't want to help or jump into another American war. And nobody does, because America, their government is so corrupt that, you know, that they're doing things for their own agenda, not caring about any other nations. They just think, oh, well, they'll back us up because we're part of the UN or whatever, right? It's not going to go like that. It's just not. And they know that. I mean, they're smarter. The government, you know, Biden's not a smart guy. I don't even think he's running the country. But even him, he actually knows what's going on. He knows he's doing this on purpose. He knows that, you know, when the 2024 election comes, it doesn't even matter. That even if there is an election, to be honest with you, because I believe this year it's going to be so serious, this summer, you know. And I don't want to put dates on things, you know. I've done that before and I've been wrong, and I'm the first one to admit it. But, you know, what we're looking at in this world, and especially with Israel, is a trembling cup, you know. We are at the brink of a serious war. A lot of it has to do with the Bible, and we're seeing these alliances being built up that the Bible talks about thousands of years ago, you know, in Ezekiel 38 and stuff like that. And, you know, it does take time for it to happen. And that's why, you know, I consider myself a fool by thinking the Lord's going to come when I thought he was going to come, because I'm looking back on it now, getting a lot more context, and saying, No, this stuff takes time, and I believe Ezekiel 38 is going to happen, and I believe that has to happen first. And out of that, you never know. They might have a covenant. The Antichrist might come. But anyways, regardless of all that, we're getting close. And every day that draws near is closer to that day. And every day that draws near is closer to the rapture. Okay? Now, these things might frighten a lot of people. But the Lord hasn't given us fear. Okay? That comes from the devil. So we have to stay strong as Christians. But read our Bible so we know what's going on. We're seeing these things being built up, and it's gonna happen. There will be a World War III. Okay, there's a currency war that's happening right now that's very, very serious. There's an energy war that's happening right now that's even more serious. There's CBDCs that are going to be coming out that's going to have civil war action going on. Or they can portray it as whatever they want, but people are not going to go for it when you can't have cash. You cannot no longer, when they bring in these CBDCs, have any privatized sales. Every sale that you make, they're going to know about, and they're going to want their taxes from. And it's going to maybe start off like that, but then they're going to start reinforcing stuff. They're going to start doing the social currency stuff. You know what I mean? If you're not doing right, or in their eyes, then you're going to be docked, and your kids can't go here and there. But you know what? I don't believe that. I believe that will be in the 7-year tribulation, maybe. But I believe that's just their views and what they want to do. But I believe Bible prophecy is happening a lot faster. I believe that things are going to really go down here soon. You know what I mean? So, I say just be strong, and just remember the Lord's power is going to be shown soon here. Excuse me. He's going to make it known to the nations that he is God. Okay, it's going to be impossible for Israel to get out of a situation soon here, but they'll get out of it. I don't know how they're going to get out of it. The Lord knows exactly what he's going to do, but it's going to be known to the world that it was impossible, but it happened. And there's only one conclusion of that, the Lord. And once the Lord shows his wonders in this world again, I don't believe there's going to be anything stopping him. Not that there ever was, but you know what I mean? It's just going to continue from there, because the Lord wants us to lay down our obedience and say, Lord, you are God. You are God, and we want to follow you, because nobody can match you. You're everything. And I believe the Lord is going to show it just like he did in the Old Testament or even the New Testament, that he is God. When Jesus walked the earth, and when he was risen again, he talked to the disciples there with him for 40 days. He made himself known in his glorified body. It just, or I can keep going in the Old Testament. It just doesn't stop in the Old Testament. The Lord wants to make himself known, and he's going to do it in a powerful way, because he has a covenant with Israel, and his words, everything that he said, will come to pass. The Ezekiel 38 war will come to pass. Israel became a nation, did come to pass, and it will continue. And as time goes by, we look at our little lives here, and we continue on with our world and our time and the way we live our lives, and it's just our day-to-day things. But we're forgetting the fact that the Lord has his own timing, and we can't look at our timing. We have to look at the Lord's timing and see these things get ticked off like check marks off the list. Yes, that happened, that happened, that happened, that happened. But time still goes. The Lord's time still goes, and we're getting close. We're getting close to the Lord showing his power in a miraculous way to save the nation of Israel, and or do something. Maybe it isn't saving it, of course he's going to save it from total destruction. That will not happen, right? We know that. But in one way or another, something will happen where Israel will still be a nation. They will accept a Messiah, which will be the Antichrist. They'll make a covenant, a 7-year covenant, and the tribulation will happen. But before that, the Lord comes in the clouds, and he snatches us up. And I just can't wait for that day. But I believe that day is coming close. I believe that the world has thought and said that we are back to normal. But I don't see anything normal about happening, what's going on in this world today. They're changing everything, and they're talking about it, right? They're talking about changing everything. Well, who is actually going to change times and laws? The Antichrist, right? We might be a lot closer than we think. So I say, spread the gospel, because the Lord is about to show his wonders in this world. And I am excited, because there's nothing worse in this world, in my eyes, than to thinking this is all we have. If we just were on this rock, floating in this universe, living 100 years, working our tails off just to die, of course there's some blessings in between, but you wouldn't call them blessings if there's no God, right? But there's nothing worse like that to me. I just know God. I have to keep going here for a second. I was reading the book of Job last night, and it's so phenomenal to me how he keeps going, talking about, the things that he's done, and talking to Job, saying, do you know these things? Do you know how I did this? Do you know how I did that? And no, of course he doesn't. Or when he was talking about Leviathan and how amazing this creature is, and how strong and mighty and graceful even this sea creature is, right? Leviathan. And then he goes and says, well, no one would ever go against him, so then who could come against me, right? We have to realize that God is so much bigger and so much better than we can even imagine, right? He's outside our universe. Our universe is massive. Think of how we are, how big we are, how small, compared to this world. Never mind compared to this solar system. Never mind compared to this galaxy. Never mind compared to this universe with billions of galaxies in it. And we are God's people, and he's doing all this for us, and he's outside of that. He is just so amazing, and he has begotten Jesus that day when the Holy Spirit ascended on him. And Jesus' whole purpose at that point was to, sacrifice himself for our sins, and the whole story is just such an amazing story. And the arrogance that comes out of this world today, thinking we're just, we're amazing and we're good people and all these types of crazy things. It's ridiculous. We shun God, and we say that these miracles that we see in front of us, like the mountains, the wind, the oceans, the animals alone, the intelligence of animals, it just doesn't matter. I can just keep going, from the big down to the molecular. And we think this is all just an accident? Come on, man. It doesn't even make any sense. Just from a normal perspective, it doesn't make sense. It's the people who don't have the actual brain thought to think of it, think, oh, well, I guess it all just worked out, didn't it? Everything about this world just worked out. Great. No, the Lord strategically made every aspect of this universe for us to thrive in multiple different ways as well. Like before the flood, it was just a different way about it. And now we have a different way now. And we're about to transition into something different. Our glorified bodies, reigning with the Lord Jesus for 1,000 years. And after that, having new heaven, new earth. Because the old one passed away. Then what after that? And what after that? Because we live eternal lives. We are blessed. We are blessed. You can look yourself in the mirror, and I implore you to do it. And look at yourself. Stare into your eyes, and you'll see God, because he's created you, right? And know that we are blessed. But anyways, God bless you guys. I'll talk to you later. Bye for now.